Attention, passionate Dallas Cowboys fans. Latest news, something big is happening in the NFC East, and it could change the game. We're talking about a direct impact on Dallas Cowboys' path to another championship run, a power shift that could leave a division rival stumbling for years. We're bringing this to you firsthand. But before we dive in, if you're a true Dallas Cowboys fan, subscribe to the channel to strengthen this passion even more. Show that you're also part of this family. Let's help each other reach 1,000 subscribers. Share with your friends and fellow Dallas Cowboys fans. Let's get to the news. Now, folks, if you've been watching the Cowboys lately, you know that the recent game against the Denver Broncos was a stark reminder that, in football, nothing is guaranteed, and even the most promising seasons can take a nosedive in an instant. And I mean, the 44-24 loss was more than just a bad day at the office. It was a wake-up call, a serious warning sign that the Cowboys' season might be heading into some turbulent waters. But what's really interesting, and what's got everyone talking, is how the coaching staff, especially head coach Brian Schottenheimer, is responding to this blowout. After such a humbling defeat, it's only natural that changes are coming, right? Well, that's exactly what Schottenheimer has confirmed. He's not shying away from the reality that drastic adjustments are on the horizon. And that's no surprise because, frankly, the Cowboys looked anything but the dominant team we thought they'd be earlier in the season. Instead, what we saw was a team that looked lost, disorganized, and vulnerable in all three phases of the game. The defense, in particular, was a nightmare. Every offense that lined up against Dallas seemed to find a way to carve through that defensive line and secondary with astonishing ease. That's been a recurring theme for the past few weeks, an almost predictable get-right game for opponents. And when your defense is giving up nearly 45 points, it's clear that something needs to change. From the moment the game ended, Schottenheimer was very clear and direct in his approach. When asked about the upcoming adjustments, he didn't sugarcoat it. He said a lot of things, I mean quite honestly a lot of things. Now, that's a coach speaking straight from the heart. And honestly, fans, that's what you want to hear. Because if you're not willing to make bold moves after a performance like that, then what are you even doing? He continued, emphasizing that coming off such a game, changes are not just expected but absolutely necessary. It was clearly our most incomplete game that we've played as a football team. Really, all three phases, and that's the key point right there. When you rebad on offense, defense, and special teams all in the same game, the problem is systemic, and it's not going to fix itself overnight. Now, let us talk about the defense, because that's where everything seems to be unraveling. The unit under Matt Eberflus has been a constant concern this season. They've become almost an invitation for opponents to score at will, and the statistics back that up. The lack of a consistent pass rush, combined with injuries in the secondary, has left the team extremely vulnerable. It's as if the Cowboys are a sitting duck every week, and that's a dangerous place to be when you're trying to compete for a division title or a deep playoff run. The defense has been a get-right game for nearly every offense they face, and it's clear that the coaching staff recognizes this. But the question is, are these changes enough? Because honestly, after 8 weeks, we've seen very little tangible improvement. Sure, there was a small uptick against the Washington Commanders, but that's hardly enough when the stakes are high. And that brings us to the trade deadline looming on the horizon. Many fans are hoping the Cowboys will make a bold move, perhaps acquire a player or two who can help bolster the secondary or add some pass rush. But here's the harsh reality. With the injury issues in the secondary, the lack of a consistent pass rush, and the inability to force turnovers, Dallas needs more than just a quick fix. They need a complete overhaul or at least a significant upgrade to turn the ship around. It's not just about adding one player, it's about fixing systemic issues that run deep within the roster. And quite frankly, that's a tall order for any team mid-season, especially when injuries have decimated key positions. Now, let us not forget that this coaching staff, led by Eberflus, isn't on the hot seat yet. Jerry Jones isn't known for making mid-season coaching changes, and that's likely not going to change this year. So, Eberflus has some runway to try to get things back on track, but make no mistake, time is running out. The phrase "winter is coming" isn't just a clever quote from a TV show. It's a metaphor for what's ahead for the Cowboys. If they don't start turning things around soon, the playoff window could close, and the division race could be lost. And let us be honest, the NFC East is a tough division. The Eagles are still strong, the Giants are unpredictable, and the Washington Commanders are no pushover. So every game counts, and the Cowboys can't afford to keep playing like this. Now, I want to highlight something interesting that came out recently. Dak Prescott, the Cowboys' starting quarterback, shared a 3-word message that truly encapsulates the current state of the team. It's a reminder that even the leaders on this squad are feeling the pressure and recognizing that adjustments are needed. Prescott's words reflect a team that's searching for its identity, trying to find that rhythm that once made them a feared offense and a tough defense. But after that game against Denver, it's clear they're in a bit of a slump, a phase that many teams go through during tough stretches. The question is, how will they respond? Because, as we all know, resilience is what separates good teams from great ones. And speaking of that, the Cowboys' offensive performance wasn't quite the same high-octane show we've seen earlier in the season. There were moments of promise, but overall, they just didn't look sharp enough. Penalties, missed blocks, and some questionable play calling have crept into their game plan, and it's hurting their chances to control the clock and put points on the board. And when your offense isn't firing on all cylinders, it puts more pressure on your defense, which is already struggling. So it's a vicious cycle that needs to be broken as soon as possible. The coaching staff knows this, and that's why the phrase "a lot of things" is so telling. It implies that multiple facets of the team need attention. Not just one or two areas, but everything. Now, let us consider the bigger picture. The Cowboys have a rich history of resilience, of bouncing back from adversity. But they've also had seasons where, after a slow start, they've come storming back and made a playoff run. The key is whether they can implement the necessary changes quickly enough. That's where the upcoming weeks will be critical. The schedule doesn't get any easier, and the NFC playoff race could be decided by how well they respond to this adversity. And I want to touch on Eberflus' coaching philosophy here. He's not the type to get fired mid-season, and Jerry Jones has shown a preference for stability. But that doesn't mean he's willing to accept mediocrity. So, while the long-term outlook might be uncertain, the immediate future hinges on whether the Cowboys can make those adjustments, whether they can tighten up on defense, and whether they can re-establish some offensive consistency. And let us not forget, the trade deadline isn't just about acquiring players. It's about signaling intent. If Dallas elects to stay put, it might send a message that they're confident in what they have, but that's a risky gamble. If they do make a move, perhaps bringing in some fresh blood on defense, it could spark new energy and help stabilize the unit. But even then, it's not a magic fix. It's a band-aid on a larger wound. The real solution comes from within, from the players adjusting, from the coaches implementing better schemes, and from the team playing with more discipline and focus. And this brings us to the overall tone of this season so far. It's been a roller coaster, no doubt. There have been moments of brilliance, flashes of promise, but also moments of complete disarray. The Cowboys have shown they can compete at the highest level, but they've also shown that they're vulnerable when it matters most. The core issue is consistency. Can they find it? That's the big question. Because if they can, the NFC East is still within reach. But if not, then they might be destined for a mid-tier finish, or worse, missing out on the playoffs altogether. In conclusion, folks, the message from the Cowboys coaching staff is clear. Change is coming, and it needs to come fast. The team's performance against the Broncos was a stark reminder that complacency and inattention to detail can cost you dearly in the NFL. The good news is, the Cowboys have the talent, the history, and the fan support to turn things around. But it's going to take more than just hope and good intentions. It's going to require bold moves, disciplined execution, and a collective effort from every player, coach, and staff member involved. And as we watch this season unfold, one thing is certain: the Cowboys are at a crossroads. Are they going to rise to the challenge, or will they fall further behind? Only time will tell, but one thing is for sure: we'll be here every step of the way, bringing you all the latest updates and insights. So stay tuned, because the story of this season is far from over, and the next chapter could be the most pivotal yet. And now, Dallas Cowboys fans, I want to hear from you. What's your take on this? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your opinion matters so much to us and to the Dallas Cowboys. And don't forget, I'll be back soon with more updates, so stay tuned for the latest Dallas Cowboys news.